When you think of anime, what do you picture? Maybe what comes to mind are cutesy high school girls with wide, glittering eyes, or monster-fighting heroes sporting a variety of cartoonish hairstyles. Perhaps you are a seasoned anime fan, having watched everything from Sailor Moon to Samurai Champloo. Or maybe you only know it from the classic Ghibli movies like Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro. Whatever the case, it's safe to say that anime has become increasingly popular around the world, specifically in the US. But for how long have Americans been watching anime, and why is it so popular here? These are questions that I, as a developing anime fan, wanted to find the answers to, and will be using this video to talk about. I started my research by coming up with several areas I wanted to focus on. First, the origins of anime in Japan and the establishment of fan culture in the US. Second, the most successful anime and its influence on American media. Third, why anime is so popular in the US. And, lastly, anime culture today and in the future. Without further ado, let's go into our first category, the origins of anime. The Salem Press Encyclopedia defines anime simply as the art of Japanese animation, and historian and director Yasuo Yamaguchi traces its beginnings to the early 20th century with the creation of short, silent films that were made using a cutout method. Following the silent film era, around the 1930s and 40s, animated films became longer and started to include sound. The majority of anime at this time was used as propaganda to promote the Japanese military, which continued to the end of World War II. After Hiroshi Okawa, then president of what is now known as Toei Animation, saw Snow White in 1956, he created an animation studio with the intention of becoming the Disney of the East. Toei's 1958 feature film, Hakujaden, was created in the assembly line production style that Disney used, and is said to have inspired a young Hayao Miyazaki, who would go on to be Japan's best-known anime director. After several decades of anime films, the 1960s saw the arrival of televised anime series. This new era was pioneered by Osamu Tezuka, who is known as the founder of modern anime. His manga series, Astro Boy, was adapted into an anime show in 1963. The show was immediately successful and prompted a demand for more anime series like it. Astro Boy was also one of the first anime shows to be seen on television in the US, and it quickly became popular among Americans, although many did not know the show's origin was in Japan. Along with Astro Boy, Speed Racer and Kimba the White Lion were also broadcast in the US with English dubs. Lawrence Eng, a social scientist with a focus on otaku studies, writes in his book, Fandom Unbound, Otaku Culture and a Connected World, that once these shows started to establish a presence in the US, knowledge of and interest in Japanese animation gradually spread, primarily by word of mouth, among the already large and active science fiction fandom. He explains that it was these dedicated fans who were to be credited for increasing the demand of anime in the US, founding conventions such as Anime Expo, and supporting the diverse market of anime that we see today. Since then, due to the internet and new technology, most anime is now readily available in the US, and its popularity and fan base has only increased. Now that some background on anime has been established, let's next look at some of the most successful anime and its influence on American media. Out of the nearly limitless genres within anime, one of the most popular types is called moe, which describes shows that are often lighthearted and involve cutesy high school-age girls. The plotlines of these shows have been criticized for being overly simple and often sexist. However, many anime fans still stand by shows like K-On! And Love Live as some of their favorites. The sports genre has also grown to include quite a number of titles, one of the most notable being the volleyball show Haikyuu, based on the manga of the same name. Praised for its compelling story and characters, Haikyuu, now in its 4th season, has been extremely popular since the show first aired in 2014. Other sports anime shows include Free, Iwatobi Swim Club, and Yuri on Ice. There are, of course, certain shows that every new anime fan is recommended to watch. These include some of the most commercially successful anime franchises, such as One Piece, Dragon Ball, and Naruto. Then there is Cowboy Bebop, a one-season-long show from the late 90s that is considered to have one of the best English dubs, and is known for its mixing of genres such as Western, sci-fi, and film noir. But one cannot discuss the most successful Japanese animation without mentioning Studio Ghibli. Founded in 1985, the studio has produced countless animated films that have captured the hearts of people from all over the world. Along with Spirited Away, their most successful title, Hayao Miyazaki has directed most of the Ghibli films. Susan Napier, an anime critic and scholar, writes in her book, Miyazaki World, that Miyazaki is an auteur, a director whose personal and artistic vision is so strong that each film consistently contains trademarks that make his or her entire work a distinctive cinematic experience. Miyazaki is indeed an auteur. Each story he crafts results in compelling plot lines, relatable characters, and astounding beauty. Miyazaki is undoubtedly the most beloved anime director of all time, and has found a devoted audience among viewers in the US. Given the impact anime has had on viewers, it is not surprising that it would have a big influence on other media as well. Studio Ghibli's films have been particularly inspiring for many creators, with a recent example being the 2017 Nintendo Switch game, The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Fans have said that Breath of the Wild draws heavily from Studio Ghibli with its fantasy element, incredible detail, and beautiful settings that are reminiscent of Miyazaki's work. Breath of the Wild has consequently received many new players simply because of these visual similarities to Studio Ghibli. Many Hollywood adaptations have also been based on what were originally anime franchises, such as Battle Angel Alita, Speed Racer, and Ghost in the Shell. These adaptations, however, are often criticized for whitewashing the casts or failing to capture the essence of the original stories. But not just adaptations have taken inspiration from anime. In his book, Manga and Anime Go to Hollywood, author Northrop Davis points out that The Matrix's multi-viewpoint camera rig results in the manga/anime convention of viewing a scene from many angles. This is an example of a movie that was inspired by anime, although not based off of it. Lastly, one of the shows most commonly said to have been influenced by anime is Avatar: The Last Airbender, an animated series that aired on Nickelodeon from 2005 to 2008. Avatar fans point out many comparisons between the show and anime style, from the design of the characters themselves, to the plotline, and to the mature themes that frequently come up. Avatar: The Last Airbender is so similar to the general traits of an anime show that many even consider it to be one. This series is a great example of American media that has honored the anime style and produced a very successful result. Now, having examined some of the most successful anime and its influence on other media, it's time to look at why anime is so popular in the US. Although this can be hard to define, there are several reasons as to why Americans might enjoy it so much. The first reason is described by Madison Seal of Appalachian State University. She explains that anime offers something that most American cartoons do not, both culturally and content-wise. Seal discusses how American children's cartoons are, by nature, family-friendly, inoffensive, and educational. American kids' shows, generally speaking, don't try to challenge the viewer. Compared to children's anime in Japan, American shows are more shy to address subjects such as death, complex relationships, LGBT+ relationships, or moral gray areas. Seal makes an excellent point that animation in the US has for a long time been intended only for children, and that it is not supposed to, as she says, challenge the viewer. Anime, on the other hand, welcomes these possibilities and does not limit audiences to one age group, thus offering viewers a much more complex, relatable, and engaging experience. Although not all cartoons in the US are intended for children, Seal points out that these adult shows often rely on crude humor for entertainment instead of expanding into more in-depth plotlines. In contrast, Japanese animation tends to offer stories that actually make the viewer see themselves in the characters and that encourage the audience to examine their own lives. Many American viewers have been captivated by this realism after being exposed to the often mundane cartoons of the US. Another reason as to why anime might be so popular is explained by Andrew McKevitt in his journal called You Are Not Alone, Anime and the Globalizing of America. He refers to anthropologist Koichi Iwabuchi's term of anime being culturally odorless, meaning that Japanese animation tries to impress its cultural values and ideas upon the viewer, less so than American media might. As was seen in some of the first anime shows, most American viewers did not even realize at first that what they were watching was Japanese. This is partly due to the design of many anime characters as not looking like they belong to one particular race, or at least looking more white than anything else. Because anime tends to focus less on painting Japanese culture in a certain light, Western audiences might appreciate the difference from American media that so often has a sense of patriotism. After considering what might be behind anime's major success in the US, it's time to discuss the last category of my research: anime culture today and in the future. Historian Jonathan Clements explains in his book, Anime: A History, that animators started to regularly use computer technology in the 80s and 90s, which allowed for more complex camera movements and angles. Most anime today use computers, and one of the most recent and successful examples is the film Your Name, which was released in 2016. Rivaling the beauty of Studio Ghibli films, Your Name makes incredible use of technology to create vast landscapes seen from unique camera angles. A Silent Voice is another popular film made with computer animation and further proves just how much can be done digitally. Technology has not only allowed animation itself to evolve over the years, but the ways in which people are watching it has also changed. Netflix, Hulu, and HBO Max, among others, now offer a selection of anime movies and shows, but what is becoming more common are streaming platforms dedicated specifically to anime. Crunchyroll, which was founded in 2006, offers more than 1,000 anime shows and is now one of the go-to places to watch it. The internet has also allowed anime fans to connect with each other more easily, and there are now hundreds of accounts over social media dedicated to certain shows, movies, and characters. The anime community definitely seems to be moving towards a more digital age, both content-wise and with the fan base. Although some fans may be reluctant to embrace this change and let go of the old ways, new ideas and technology will hopefully result in even more anime to love. By this point, hopefully you have a bit of a better understanding of anime history and culture. Although there is still so much to discover about this topic, such as more of the people behind anime as well as the impact it has had on other communities, I feel I have come to understand it on a much deeper level than before. But if you're still wondering what makes this medium so special, then I'd like to leave you with some final thoughts. First, I believe we use stories to better understand ourselves and the world we live in. When we see a character that we can really relate to, or watch them go through an experience similar to our own, we feel truly understood. Any kind of art can make this happen, but anime is one medium that has an exceptional track record of telling stories in a unique and relatable way. Humans are, after all, complex and diverse beings. We are not defined by one label, and we are not perfect. In contrast to a large amount of Western media that portrays people in much more black and white terms, the majority of anime creators are not afraid to tell stories that embody these imperfections and nuances. My guess, therefore, is that American viewers see themselves in anime like they never have before, and are infatuated with lives that are completely different from their own, yet still hold a sense of familiarity. While anime as a whole has its flaws, fans have still been able to discover friends among ragtag groups of two-dimensional characters and witness life painted in painstaking detail. The diversity in genre and unashamed confrontation of real-life issues offers viewers endless possibilities to find a story that will have meaning to them. These are all qualities that make anime and its community special, not to mention that it can just be really fun to watch. I therefore recommend, if you haven't already come to know how wonderful the world of anime is, that you take the time to find a story that really feels like it was meant for you, because you might never know just what you've been missing.